Liquidity may be one of the most neglected aspects of the video game collecting hobby, but in my opinion also one of the most important ones. What liquidity in game collecting is and why I use it so much when I collect games and how it can help you to make good buying decisions for your collection, that's what we are going to talk about today. Now, liquidity can have two different meanings. Number one is simply you have liquid cash in the bank to buy games whenever you find a good deal. Right? You go on eBay, you find a good auction. If you don't have the money to buy it for that good deal, the good deal is not doing you any good. I said the word good a lot. The other aspect that I want to talk about here is the liquidity of your game collection itself. On my video about me selling my games, I got a comment from Mr. Sushi Hut, a frequent commenter, like always nice to see you in the comments. I hope you're watching this video. I talked about, these I have to sell in bulk, these I have to put on eBay auctions and so on. And he said, that's where I'm doing it right. My collection is for the Nintendo Switch 2 and I'm collecting fully physical games that I want to play. Those should always be in demand. Makes sense on first glance. However, this is completely incorrect when it comes to video game buying and video game collecting, right? Any collecting. Actually, we have to talk about how prices get created in an economy. You may know the concept of supply and demand, right? Supply, how much product is out there. Demand, how many people want it, right? If more people want it and the supply does not change, the price goes up. If the supply changes and the demand stays the same, the price goes down. Now, this is something that we have to keep in mind, right? When we collect video games and we plan on selling those in the future. Because if there's too much supply of something and not enough demand, you will never sell that game to anyone. If the demand is too low for the supply, it may not be worth your time to put that game on the market. On the other hand, if the supply is so low and the demand so high that the prices are outrageous, a lot of people may be outpriced from that game. For example, Earthbound, right? It's a $1,000 game right now that already prices out a lot of people. That does not mean it's an illiquid game. It means the liquidity is simply lower than for other games. Now, something to keep in mind is there's no perfect formula. And in the end, we're collecting games to have fun, not for profit, not for game flipping and so on. That's a different aspect. I'm talking about game collecting. And in the end, liquidity should not matter too much, but it is an important aspect. Why liquidity is important is if you sit down and sell your collection, how fast can you sell it? How much money do you get for it? Let me go through a few games in my collection to show you what liquidity may look like. This is one of the games I'm selling for the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is a hugely collectible console right now. Collectors are going crazy for the Nintendo Switch. This is The Police. This is not an expensive game. This is readily available on the market for very low prices, and next to nobody is going out there saying, I want to buy This Is the Police on the Nintendo Switch. If I wanted to sell this right now, I have to price it very cheaply, so maybe someone is interested, because the market is basically flooded, right? You can find this no problem on eBay for, 10, maybe 15 euros max. So I have to go considerably lower than that to sell it quickly. So this game does not have a high liquidity. Nobody cares. There's a huge amount of these out there. Let's go through the rest of my collection. For example, something that actually has some liquidity is for the PlayStation 1, a game I'm selling called Nightmare Creatures. The demand for this has gone up with Bloodborne coming out 10 years ago, because this is people say the spiritual predecessor to that one. Similar gameplay, similar settings. So this is actually one of those, in-demand games that I shouldn't have a big problem finding a buyer for. It's not super common, especially in Germany. This was indexed for the longest time. You couldn't buy it in our country. So we don't have a lot of these in the country, and people are looking for it. Nice game. So this has decent liquidity on the market. Horror games on PlayStation consoles are also always a good buy if you can get it for a good deal. Another one is Gregory Horror Show over here on the PlayStation 2. So you may have never heard about this game, but this is a survival horror game based on a TV show from Japan. Survival horror on PlayStation 2, always a good thing. You know, there's a collector's market for survival horror on the PlayStation 2. People are looking for these games. What makes this one even better for collectors is this was a Japan and Europe exclusive game. This game never came out in the US. So if you want a translated version, you have to get the European version, like this one. So this has relatively high liquidity because people are not only looking for this on my continent of Europe, they're also looking for it in the US, because if they want the game in English, they have to import this from Europe. This has good liquidity. I sold this day one when I put my games up online, when I wanted to sell them. Other games with bad liquidity, like this one, Hugo Bakazoom for the PlayStation 2. Nobody is out there looking for Hugo Bakazoom on the PlayStation 2. I could put this up on eBay for like €1. I'm pretty sure nobody would buy it. This game has no liquidity. I have this on my shelf. The only way to get rid of it is, well, to sell it in a bundle. Basically as a replacement case. That's what you do. This has no demand. This has a relatively high supply. This is not a rare game. And Hugo Bakazoom is basically, if you spend money on this game, it's lost money. You cannot recoup your buying price with this game. And that's where it all ends. In the end, my goal for collecting is to do it as closely to like net neutral as possible. When I buy a game, I either have to love it, like it, to simply lose money on. For example, one game that has a low liquidity is Short Warp, or for the Japanese 3DO. Now, let's back up a little bit. The 3DO, not a hugely popular console, and the collector's market is there, but not very high. This is a Japan exclusive 3DO game. So the Western market is simply almost not interested in this one. Also, this was relatively expensive. Back in the day, I paid €100 to get this over here. I'm never recouping that money. I'll be lucky if I can sell this game locally, or if I want to sell it fast, for like maybe 30. But even that may be a stretch to find a buyer for this in a short amount of time for €30. So this is something that is very illiquid, but I don't care. This is a game I love. It's made by Kenji Eno. You may know him from D and so on. The reason I love this is he hand-numbered all 10,000 copies of this. And I think this is the closest I will ever get to getting a signature from Kenji Eno. So this is why I love this one. It is a cool story, why it was produced, how it was sold. This is cool for my collection. It has no liquidity. Almost nobody is interested in this. So when you do your collection and you buy a game, keep that in mind. You may spend money on a game that you will never get your money back from, or at least you will sell it with a huge loss. Now, the cool thing about retro video game collecting is that games usually, keep their value. If you buy it used, the price for an old game does not go down. Often it goes up a little bit, but that's the cool thing. When I buy these games, I don't think it as like losing my money when I buy them. I know I can get it back when I sell it. And to have that peace of mind as well. I like to think about the liquidity of my game collection. If I wanted to sell it all right now, how fast could I get a seller? Could I get a buyer for these? How much of the value can I get out of them? Do I have to sell them at a discount to sell it quickly? And this is something I think about when I buy a game. This is The Police was a game I simply wanted to try. I was happy to lose all of the money I put into this. Didn't work out that well. I didn't like it too much. But that's something I thought about. Especially when I buy retro video games. I don't want the baggage on my shelf of games I will never be able to sell. Like I have in here things like Summoner, for example. Oh, cool game. There's no demand for this. There are no fans of the Summoner series. And they're certainly not going to go on eBay every day trying to buy this. The supply of this, because it was a launch game for the PlayStation 2, the supply is gigantic. There's way too many copies for these to, that the buyers are not satisfied with the demand. So prices will not go up. There's a huge competition in the market. If I wanted to buy this game, I must be very glad to never get my money back from this. Now, a lot of these games I got in a sale or in a lot, right? One of the other things, like the Platinum collections for the PlayStation. Hard to find a seller for a lot of these. Oh, I have another here, right? Alex Kidd and Miracle World. This is a high demand game on the Master System. One of the holy grails on this one of the best games, and the physical version, because later on it was built into the Master System too. The physical version is quite pricey, and every person collecting for the Master System wants a copy of Alex Kidd and Miracle World. So in the Master System collecting scene, this game has high liquidity, easy to sell. So which games, in my opinion, have the highest liquidity? Perfect storm of prices that are affordable usually, a huge fan base that wants all of the games, and relatively low supply, so there's never too much out there. That is Nintendo first party games, especially things like Pokemon, because Pokemon has such a long lifespan with trading up your Pokemon, people like doing challenges on old games. The supply is gigantic. There's always been 2 versions and they sell tens of millions for each Pokemon generations. However, fans want it. And as soon as it's no longer sold, prices go up. At least that was the case for the games pre-3DS. How the prices develop for the other games, that's in the future. Also things like Mario first party games, like Mario Odyssey for the Switch, for example, Mario Sunshine and so on. These may not be high-priced games. If I go on the market right now and I want to buy a copy of Super Mario Sunshine, the European one, I may pay 30 euros. It's not an expensive game. However, I know if I no longer want this game, I can go on eBay and sell this for 30 euros. I lose no money on this, and it's easy to sell. People want Mario Sunshine on the GameCube. Even the supply is high, the collector's market is there, the demand is there. So when you go out and you buy games, I highly encourage you to think about the liquidity of the game you have just bought. Is it simply shelf fodder? Like this. Or Hugo Bakezoom! This is one of the games I couldn't give it away. I tried to at one point. I still have it. I cannot give this game away. Nope. If I told someone, here's a free copy of Hugo Bakezoom, they will not take it from me. It's impossible to get rid of Hugo Bakezoom for the Nintendo Switch. That would be great. PlayStation 2. So think about liquidity, because at one point we all want to buy that holy grail game and we have to sell a part of our collection. simply, liquidating our collection to put into something else. Life happens. We all die one day. Our children, our family will be here with a shelf of games where a seller will tell them, I cannot give these away. You have to throw them away, basically. I at least want them to, get some money out of it when I die. So think about liquidity. I thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.